Happy Tuesday, everybody, and welcome back to Brown Bag Bets, powered by BetSperts. We are your daily dose of quick hit handicapping and sports betting picks. I'm Alex Christensen, and joining me as always on Tuesdays, Mr. Matthew Rooney. Andy's over on the BetSperts Golf Channel talking up this week's golf, so hop over on there when you're done here. Hope everybody had a nice long weekend. How about you, Matty? What did you do to celebrate the 4th? Did you blow up any meat?
Did I cut out there for a second? What did I do?
I was going to say, I'm sorry. Did you have a nice 4th of July weekend? Did you blow up any meat?
Oh, I did not smoke any meat like Andy. Did throw some flank steaks, like big old flank steaks on the grill, or grill and flat top. We got my parents' backyard up in our cottage up in Michigan, so was up there all weekend. Played some golf, attempted to do some wakeboarding, I should say. Didn't really actually do much of it. It was a whole lot of falling. So the body's a little bit sore this weekend. Whole lot of muscles I'm not used to using, but that's all right. And finished it off going to a White Sox game last night. I might be able to get into that a little bit later with picks. That's, I guess, a tease. But, yeah, pretty good long 4th of July weekend. It was nice and relaxing. How about yourself?
It was pretty good. I found out about a new cut of steak. It's apparently a giant ribeye called a cowboy steak, but it was a ribeye steak, not quite as big as my head, but like I'm not really exaggerating with that. Like it was basically the size, almost half the size of my head. That was wonderful. Got to see a bunch of fireworks where we live, just outside of Philly. If I go stand in my backyard, there's actually 3 parks I can see that are shooting off fireworks. So it's, a little bit behind stuff. It was fun watching all that. And I mean, nobody had a better weekend or is feeling it probably more than Mr. Joey Chestnut, arguably the greatest athlete alive at this point. He has won 15 of the last 16 mustard belts. He won by 15 stinking hot dogs, Matt, and even did a little security duty.
Yeah, he won by 15 to 20 whatever hot dogs while choking out a guy on a bad leg. He was on crutches. He had like the one leg that they were saying he, had a broken ankle and then screwed up some tendons in it. So like still on crutches. And even then he's, scarfing down 60 hot dogs and choking out a protester or whatever that was. I love watching that every year. It's disgusting. It kind of grosses me out, but once a year on the 4th of July, just watching guys and gals eat a whole bunch of hot dogs. It's I didn't bet anything on it. I should have tailed Andy's picks because I think Andy's picks won. I don't know if you saw any of the show on Friday. Andy went more in depth on the hot dog competition than he does on golf each week. Like it was the last 8 minutes of the show was Andy handicapping the hot dog eating competition. It was wildly impressive. I think he won. I know Connor Allen over at the 4for4 had a big prize picks entry hit. So that was fun. I, of course, didn't tail them because why would I want to tail winning picks? But that was a lot of fun. Did you bet anything on that?
No, I didn't. I was actually out of PA and not in a state where I could use anything like prize picks and poked around. I think I did see some offshores and maybe got a few bucks down, but just something I laugh at. I did listen to the guys on Friday. I know Andy does a ton of homework. He goes back and watches people in other eating competitions, like scours the internet for stats and stuff. And I think there's a couple other guys that he works with to help him out with some of that stuff. So it was fun listening to that handicap. He does. He loves the hot dog contest.
What I did also, like I said, transition to some baseball here. Did get to watch some baseball. Did eat a bunch of hot dogs at the baseball game. That was by far the highlight of it, though.
The
White Sox, no, God, no. I had 2 with a few beers, and that was more than enough for me. I don't know.
Did you dip in the beer? So
God, no. Have you heard of I think it's the 999 challenge baseball games. It's 9 hot dogs, 9 beers, and 9 innings. I feel like that is kind of our version of a hot dog eating contest. Can you manage that? That would be tough.
You would want to make sure you found a game where either I guess you'd want a game where there was going to be a lot of runs, so you had longer innings.
Yep.
Like you don't want
to look at a pitching matchup and get a bad pitching matchup. 2 rough pitchers.
Exactly. Let me get bad pitchers. Let me get into the bullpen pretty quick, or maybe a bullpen game. That would be great.
Ooh,
find like 2 teams that are doing a bullpen
and then you have
game.
Pitching change every inning. I like that.
I think
you'd also need at Sox games. They have the nicer hot dog stands. Not like nice, but like they have the ones where they have like big flat top grill with the grilled onions. They have those with the not steamed buns. And then they have the hot dog vendors, wrapped in tinfoil with the steamed buns and the steamed hot dogs. They're a little bit more compacted. I feel like those are the kinds you need. You
definitely go with whatever the cheapest hot dog option is. Yeah, we're not putting onions and peppers and mustard.
No, these got to be straight. No, if you want to throw a little mustard on there or ketchup, whatever, what have you, go for it. But that's kind of where you have to draw the line. Just maybe. Do
you have to do them at the same time, or can
No, you could do it however you want.
You
could have 9 hot dogs in the bottom of the first inning, and your 9 hot dogs are gone.
All right, we'll work on this some more.
We'll have a brown bag bets outing at a baseball game at some point and see between the 4 of us, you, me, Andy, and Dan, see who can take it down or at least finish the challenge. I'm going to get in some baseball picks though before we get too off.
That's right. We have actual baseball.
Do we have actual baseball today? I do not believe we have baseball. I don't think so. I was on fantasy this morning. Don't believe we have day baseball tomorrow.
Afternoon.
We will. Okay, well, that's
Mariners Padres at 4.
Okay, so I guess that's West Coast
or 3
day baseball. So if you're out on the West Coast, that's some day baseball. That's a 1 o'clock local start. So if you're out on the West Coast and it's 8:30 in the morning and you're waking up with us, congratulations. I'm going to start with Max Scherzer coming back for the Mets tonight. He was on the IL for a while. He's making his return. Had a really good rehab stint. They're in Cincinnati playing the Reds, who are one of the worst teams in baseball. The Mets have been, after a so-so June, kind of come out better in July, and I think getting Max Scherzer, they're one of their 2 aces, I should say. It's hard to say he's not their ace, but they do have Jacob deGrom, who's expected back at some point in the near future. But Scherzer, one of the best pitchers in baseball, big strikeout guy coming back. I think that's going to be a huge boost to that team. And yeah, he's probably going to be on somewhat of a pitch count tonight, but I still think he goes 5-6 innings. And against a Reds lineup, I think he's going to rack up some strikeouts, and I think the Mets are going to win that one. His over-under is, I believe, said it's 7.5 strikeouts. So that's 6 is a pretty good number there. Just get to 6+. That's you're selling a strikeout and a half there. Take that. Take the Mets to win. -126, not the greatest juice, but that's fine. We'll take it. And we're taking the Twins money line. We're fading the White Sox full out here. I'm done. Did you see the triple play last night? The one.
Well, I was gonna wait till you were finished. I figured that you could do your picks and hopefully have some sanity here, but I guess you're going to pick the Twins. It's I heard about it. I've actually just got a video up right now. I'm going to watch it happen here. Apparently, the first 8-5 triple play in history. Now, how does that even? Who is 8 and who is 5?
The center fielder to the third baseman. I don't. Did you play baseball at all as a little league, high school?
Oh no.
Okay.
No, absolutely not. So, how do you get a triple play with your center fielder and your third baseman? What sort of horrible base running mistakes were made?
The White Sox had runners on first and second. And A.J. Pollock was up, and he hit a pretty drove one into right center to the warning track. It was one that off the bat looked like it might be a gapper, but I had a pretty good view on it from my seats, and you could tell that Byron Buxton had a pretty good beat on it. And there was a pretty good chance he was at least going to make it a close play, so runners should be tagging. And I don't know what, it looked like Adam Engel, who was the runner on second, was waiting for the tag, and then at some point decides to run. And then Yohan Moncada was already basically at second base for some reason when Buxton catches this ball. Engel gets to third and just kind of stops and waits. Moncada's rounding second already, and the ball goes to third. Engel is tagged, and then the third baseman, Moncada just doesn't decide to try and run back at all. The third baseman beats Moncada back. So it was
this is insane. Yeah, they didn't think he was going to catch the ball, I guess.
It is base running that a little league or a high school coach would flip out on their team for, let alone a Major League Baseball team.
I mean, does the third base coach get fired? And I didn't get a good angle of him. I don't know if he was putting up the stop sign or the let's keep going.
The White Sox third base coach's name is Joe McEwing. He is one of the more stupidly aggressive third base coaches I've ever seen. It just doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. It seems like he gets the emotion caught up and just wants to wave everybody around. How the base runners aren't paying that close of attention to figure that out. Not really sure. Not see the play.
You're right. They're running head down. You think you'd be
your base coaches should at least be your fail safe. Your third base coach has got to be hey, no, go. First base coach has got to be come on back. And there's just nothing. No accountability, nothing. So we're taking the Twins money line. Michael Kopech is thrown for the White Sox today. He's one of the few White Sox I can't really be mad at because he's been very good all year. That said, I think he's going to go out and pitch pretty well. I think the White Sox are going to have a god-awful approach at the plate against Chris Archer, who's been surprisingly solid this year for the Twins. I think he's going to pitch really well. I think the White Sox are going to put up a couple runs, and the Twins are going to win something like 4 or 5-2 when they get to the Sox bullpen. So Twins money line at plus money. I don't. The White Sox should not be favored. I know they have the benefit of the pitching matchup. They should not be favored in this baseball game. They're 16-22 at home. They've been awful. They're 0-4 against the Twins this year, and they're just playing really bad baseball. So we're going to fade the White Sox, and we are going to back Max Scherzer.
A sad, sad day, Daniel. Sad day, Matthew, for you. That's all right. I was thinking about Dan. Usually Dan's bumming me out about the
even it was so bad. It's gotten so bad that even Andy this morning on Slack sent me at first it was poking fun at me message, but then he was actually got serious and was actually kind of feel bad for you.
That's your fault.
Tough. And even Andy got serious with me. That's how bad it's gotten for White Sox fans. So that's it. Baseball's over. Baseball's canceled this summer. What do you got? Wimbledon.
Yeah, Halt. We'll get to NBA futures in a second, but Wimbledon continues. Novak Djokovic right now actually lost the first 2 sets of his match. We're now back on serve here, so things are balancing out a little bit. We'll see if Novak can close it out in the 5th. On the women's side of the draw, we're just kind of chugging forward, having some nice matches, but have 2 tomorrow. Today we'll have Ons Jabeur as the last match left. All the numbers in there look just about right. That match should be underway shortly. But yeah, let's see what Novak can do here in the 5th. But 2 matches, 2 totals for tomorrow, an under and an over. Simona Halep playing Amanda Anisimova. Halep and Anisimova actually played, I think, about 2 weeks ago at this point in Bad Homburg. Halep wiped the floor with her then, and I expect her to do the same again today. Thought about playing the Halep spread, thought about playing the money line, but the total here at under 21 games, and there are some 21.5s out there that you can play the under at a pretty juicy number. Would rather play the cheap 21 here. Look just like the better edge to me. I mean, Halep should take care of business here pretty quickly. Now, maybe something happens. She gets hurt, a little flummox, and Anisimova can take her out. But whatever goes on here should be over in 2 pretty quick sets. So give me the under 21 there. And then the over, Elena Rybakina and Alya Tomljanovic. Rybakina overs have been great. So have Tomljanovic overs. Both women are strong servers, know how to kind of reposition themselves during sets to make comebacks, win set 7-5, things like that. There's a great chance we see a tiebreaker in this match. So give me the over 21.5 there. And again, the under. Both of these matches will be nice and early tomorrow. 2 quarterfinal matches as we move through Wimbledon. We'll have the final on Saturday. I'm excited.
I watching the Wimbledon final. I don't obviously pay as close of attention to you guys or Andy, but watching the Wimbledon final every year is one of the few tennis matches that, both of them, the men's and women's, that I'm just about always in on. I'm not the biggest tennis fans. I do find a lot of the non-majors, I can't really get into it too much, but there's just something about it's like Masters Sunday for casual golf fans. There's just something about the Wimbledon final that just gets me tuning into it that I always really like watching.
It's a perfect time of the day. It's on a little bit later than the French Open final. Which, again, those are probably my 2 favorite. But, yeah, you're right. You kind of get up, you make yourself some mimosas and stuff, and it's just a really great setting. So I'm pumped for the weekend Wimbledon finals. But we've got a draft coming up. I know we've had the NBA draft. We're done with the NFL draft. And I guess what's left?
We have the NHL draft. I'm not going to lie to you. There's not going to be as much drama as the NBA draft. There's not as many props out there. Well, you know what? If you do what Andy did, Andy sent me a screenshot last week of he's got 15 different bets on the NHL draft that he knows nobody. He clearly talked to somebody who knew something and has 15 different bets on some offshore. And I was like, Andy, that's great for you. I'm not going to touch a lot of them. But you go to FanDuel, you go to Caesars, you go to BetMGM. They have a lot of top 3 props because that's kind of the most predictable, but still at this point unpredictable, the most known commodities going into this NHL draft. So I'm going the order for the first 3. I believe it's Montreal, New Jersey, Arizona. Shane Wright, the guy that I'm taking. Yuri Slavkovsky, Shane Wright, Logan Cooley. Exact order 1, 2, 3 at plus 230. Shane Wright, dating back to last year, was seen as the consensus no-brainer, absolute number 1 pick this year. And as far as recently as a month ago, he was minus 1,000 on FanDuel to be the first overall pick. That's now down to minus 315. Montreal, for whatever reason, not really sure, seems to either be getting cold feet or they're falling in love with this Yuri Slavkovsky guy's big goal scoring kind of, I don't want to call him a power forward, but think like I don't know if you know Patrick Laine, who plays played in Winnipeg, now plays in Columbus. Just a big, like 6'4", heavy body goal scorer. And I think Montreal, it sounds like, is kind of fallen in love with his upside, which he has a lot of. He's a little bit of a, not quite NHL ready immediately, but he's a little bit of a project with high upside with a lot of goal scoring potential. It sounds like they're falling in love with him. So I like it plus 230 with how far Shane Wright's number one overall odds have dropped. Like I said, from minus like 1,000 and now minus like 300. Taking this exact order, because if he doesn't go 1, the Devils will take him at 2. It would be shocking if they didn't, if he fell to 3. And then Logan Cooley is pretty much the consensus number 3 for Arizona there. So plus 230 for this exact order for the upset to go number 1. Montreal has a history of taking some not interesting picks, but kind of falling in love with their guy, even though they might be taking him a little bit early. And I think we might have a case of that here. So I'm going Slavkovsky, Wright, Cooley, 1, 2, 3. That draft is Thursday night. I believe it's like 5 or 6 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock Eastern. I think 5 or 6 o'clock my time. And the draft order is going to be fun, but this draft is not all that loaded. The NHL draft is a great night, though, for trades. That's when, similar to the NBA draft, similar to the NFL draft, I'm not sure you're going to see to the extent the NFL did it this year, because that was pretty insane with some of the big names flying around. But that's one of the two or three big nights a year that you can see a lot of trades, a lot of fireworks, a lot of changes happen. So the broadcast, while it might be a little bit boring because you might not know a lot of the names being drafted, a lot of the names that could be swapping teams are worth a look.
I can dig it. This one I actually found. One of the offshores, BetUS, looks like they have this market up. So if you're in a legal state like I am that doesn't allow draft props, boo, Quakers, you can find it in a couple spots. So start to poke around. It looks like they're actually opening up. Bet Online even has some props up. So we'll get some draft stuff. It's always fun to have a draft. We love drafts.
It is. And I did have – it was figuring out what I wanted my second topic to be. I had some college football futures I might have wanted to talk about, might get into in the next couple of weeks, but we got a draft. We have to talk about a draft, especially after what we just did in the NBA draft. We can't then let one go by. But you do have some NBA props. Not draft props, but futures. I love it.
NBA futures are starting to sneak out a few places. Our sponsors. Sponsor FanDuel leading the way here. They've opened 6th Man of the Year. They've opened Most Improved before everybody else. There's a couple other books that have started to open up slowly, but some 6th Man of the Year prices. And again, I'll probably go back through and do these once these numbers are open at offshores and some more places and do a little more formal run. But looking at our numbers again, these are all from our sponsor FanDuel here. There were 5 numbers that right off the bat stuck out to me and thought I had to grab pretty quickly. So we'll start with Spencer Dinwiddie here. He's 21-1. He will almost certainly be the number 1 guy coming off the Dallas Mavericks bench and possibly have that opportunity to be the 6th man that finishes the game as well. So one of the keys to being a 6th man and winning that award every single year is you really do have to come off the bench. I mean, they really do stick to that. And what you're looking for is somebody coming off the bench, generally a veteran player who might possibly be a starter for another team, maybe in a different situation, but also puts up a lot of points, assists, and rebounds. These are all media awards, so let's look for our counting stats. And Dinwiddie's going to be a guy who has a chance to, I think, average, maybe 15 or so points off the bench with 4 or 5 assists, 4 or 5 rebounds, and just put up a really nice stat line every night and be a really positive player for a Mavericks team that I'm really, I think, going to be buying a lot on before the season starts here. Derek White, 40-1. This one now a little bit wonkier and maybe not as much value now that Brogdon is a Boston Celtic. We'll see what that does in terms of maybe pushing Marcus Smart to the bench. So still playing this at 40-1. Derek White, we saw, was their 6th man from the entire postseason there. And given what the Celtics like to do, there's still an opportunity for them maybe to move Smart or even Jaylen Brown or something, not necessarily for Kevin Durant, but for another piece. And Derek White is right back there as your 6th man candidate. So happy to take him at 40-1, although things are a little bit wonky there. DeAnthony Melton, draft night trade, moved him from the Grizzlies to the 76ers. Looks like he will be the Sixers' first guard off the bench and will have an opportunity to do a lot of great things on that Philadelphia team. Again, not only coming off the bench, but maybe even as a closing role. Grayson Allen for the Milwaukee Bucks developed a really nice 6-man spot in the postseason. I think has a chance to play a lot of minutes for the Milwaukee Bucks this year as they continue to try to work their way towards building championship and saving those big 3 guys. Yes, they did trade for Joe Ingles, who was top candidate for this award every single year he plays, but he's coming off a torn ACL. We probably won't see him until after All-Star break, so he won't get enough games there at such a big number, 120-1. Give me Grayson Allen. And then Talon Horton-Tucker. He's going to be the Lakers' sixth man. He's going to come off the bench. He's going to have a ton of opportunity to put up a bunch of points for a team that gets attention every single night. So 240-1. He checks a lot of boxes for me again. Not necessarily one of the best players, but we'll have an opportunity to kind of put up the eye-popping stats if the Lakers can find a way to sort of get their shit together, which I hope they don't. I'd be happy to lose this bet.
I like that Talon Horton-Tucker pick at plus 24, or I was going to say plus 2,400, plus 24,000.
You can make a lot worse bets at 240-1.
So I know obviously sixth man of the year, like you were saying, means you got to they stick to it. You got to pretty much come off the bench. What is like the threshold for amount of games that a guy can start where they're going to start saying he's not a sixth man anymore? Because obviously injuries happen in the NBA, and sometimes if you start a season as a sixth man and somebody ahead of you goes down, you fill in the lineup. When does that? Is it like 20 games that you've started where you start being not? Is it kind of half the season? Where does that? I'm sure there's not an actual guideline written in the award description, but is there like a number where the people who decide this start to be like, not really a bench player anymore?
Well, there actually is a guideline, and you do have to have at least half your games coming off the bench. But
okay.
Let me see. On average, they still play about 25, 30 minutes a game, but at least 65, 70% of their games come off the bench.
Okay.
Just looking at some other things from last year, the last 10 winners averaged 17 points, 4 boards, and 3 assists. Again, all those guys on this list can do that. Generally plays for a winning team. This is an award that almost always goes to one of the top 2 seeds in either conference. And on average, again, it's generally a veteran. If you go back through and look at the history of this, Jordan Clarkson, Montrezl Harrell, Lou Williams a couple times, Eric Gordon, J.R. Smith. Outside of really James Harden in 2012, it's almost always a veteran guy who is willing to sort of take a backup role, if you will. So that's kind of what you're looking for. And again, I think all these guys check those boxes to various degrees, and just like all these numbers. So let's get started with some futures.
I'm in for it. Down for it. Love future betting like this far in advance. I always love, because one, you always kind of forget about it by the time it rolls. But like I talk myself into how I'm going to win these, like how easy this is going to be, and I'm going to talk myself into the perfect scenario. And in my head, it just makes me like, oh, this is easy. This can be awesome money. Can't wait to hit this 240-1 winner. It's going to be great. I love talking myself into futures.
I love it. I think that's all we got today. Thanks everybody for watching. Thanks everybody in the chat for participating. Give us a thumbs up, like all that good crap that Andy asks about all the time. And we'll be back tomorrow with Mr. Molitor. Mr. Rooney, he'll be in the background tomorrow driving the bus. Again, things go off the rails this week. Don't blame Dan. He's on vacation.
All me.
So we'll see you tomorrow, folks.